Okay, people, we're going to talk about how to tie a knot on the end of your thread. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your thread and you're going to make it so it's about the length of from your wrist to the top of your arm. So it's going to be about that long. Then you're going to thread it through the eye of the needle. You all should know how to do that. Then we're going to double up the thread, which means we're going to have two strands of thread. So one of each side, we're going to line them up at the bottom and we're going to tie a knot at the end. So the easiest way that I've found is that you wrap it around your finger, pinch it between your two fingers, and then you just roll that thread, and if you pull on that end, it makes a nice little knot. Okay, and then I'm going to do that again. You put it in between your fingers and roll and pull. And then you have this sweet little knot at the end. I'm going to clean mine up by trimming it with my scissors, but that's how you tie a knot on the end of your string. And now you're ready to sew on your button. So I've marked the fabric, so what I did is I took my buttonhole and I lined it up with where I want my button to be. And I took a marker and I made a little dot right in between there, and I have pictures of that. So now I've got a little dot. You can kind of see it's on the mustache of that dude. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick my needle up through where that dot is. I'm going to take my button and I'm going to show you a 4-hole button first. I'll have pictures for the other ones. But I'm going to pull it all the way through my thread. Alright? So I've got my button here. It's nice and tight. I'm going to put it in between my finger. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through on that diagonal hole right there. Okay? And I'm going to lift up my button because I want it to all be in about the same spot. I'm going to put it through that little dot where I sewed my first one. I'm going to push it through. Then I'm going to pull my thread all the way through. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my finger is under here so I have a little slack, because I don't want it to be super tight on my fabric because we're going to need to make a little shake. So I'm going to go back and forth, back and forth. So I'm going to do this about 6 times, making sure that I'm getting through the fabric at about the same place where I've been poking my other ones to keep it nice and clean. So I'm going to go up and back. And I'm going to go a little bit faster, but now I'm going to go through the opposite side. So I'm going to poke my fabric through that little hole. And now, ow, I'm going to go through the other side of my button. I'm going to pull and come through back on this side again. I'm watching to make sure that I have a little slack. Come through the back. And I want to make sure that I'm coming through the back right there. Okay? So once I've done this, gone back and forth a few more times, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through, so I'll go one more time. I'm going to come through, but instead of going through my fabric, I'm just going to have my needle come through the button. I'm going to pull it through like this. Okay? So this is where we are making a shake. So I'm going to take my thread now, and I'm going to wrap it around my button like 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so what's that's done is it's got a little shanky thing now. I'm going to do that one more time. So once I've got my nice little button shank, I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to go through my fabric to the back here. Got my knot. Okay, so I'm pushing it all the way through. Once I pushed it all the way through, I'm going to do a couple stitches, which means I'm going to just pick up a little bit of the fabric. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I've just picked a little bit up, and I'm going to pull my needle. And then instead of pulling it all the way tight, I'm going to sew a knot by coming through my loop. Okay, so I'm going to do that, pull all the way through, pull real tight. I'm going to do that again in about the same spot. And once I've done that, my button is all sewn on and I'm ready to go. And then I'll show you. So do that one more time through the loop. Then I can cut it. Voila. And now, look at how amazing this is. My button can go through my little buttonhole. Check it out. Oh, so magical and great. So you're going to do that on your wallet. I'll show you how to measure it, but that's how you sew on a button and open your buttonhole.